was a kid, I always loved to make music. I was singing the whole time, and when I came to school, I got a recorder from my parents, and I started playing it. And I didn't have a teacher or anything, and my parents realized that I was just singing and doing music all the time, and so they decided when I was about 7 or 8 years old that I should sing in a choir. And there was just a new music school in the city that has opened, and they've had a children's choir. And so I went to this choir for 1 or 2 years, and whenever the music school had concerts, the choir would sing, and I would also hear a lot of other instruments there. And from that time, I started to love the accordion. I was hearing accordion music, and of course, I asked my parents if I would be able to study the accordion, and they said yes, sure. And so I started taking lessons at the age of 10. When I was about 13, there was a new teacher coming to the music school teaching all the accordion students. And she was a, to me, fascinating young woman. She was 23 and she played classical music, which I had never heard on the accordion so far. And from my theory lessons, I knew classical music and I loved it, but I was never able to play it because who would play classical music on the accordion? So, but then she did, and I was really fascinated. And by that time, I was like 13, and I was in this age where you look for examples. And so I just wanted so much to be like her, and I started really practicing seriously. And the other thing that happened, my parents didn't like classical music at all. And so this was for me a way to be very rebellious against them because they hated it. And whenever I was practicing at home, they started making bad comments, but this was just right for me. So and it was a good way for me to be rebellious in a very good way. After 1 or 2 years of that, I went to the special school in Weimar. It's a special school for children who want to become musicians, and they all play an instrument, and usually it's orchestra instruments, but they also have piano and accordion and guitar and singers and percussion. I was learning what violins play, what cello play. I was attending all the orchestra concerts, and I was singing in the choir there again. And we just, when you become a student at a university and study music, what you learn in the first 2 years, the students at that school where I was would already learn at the age of 16 and 17. So we were very much ahead of things.
Also ich bin 9 Jahre und spiele jetzt 3 Jahre Akkordeon. Ich habe die ganze Zeit mit Nancy Akkordeon gespielt.
Also ich bin 11 Jahre alt und ich spiele schon 3,5 Jahre bei Nancy.
Und warum Nancy? Was gefällt dir an Nancy?
Also mir gefällt an Nancy, dass sie immer nett ist und dass sie eigentlich anbrüllt und dass sie meistens da ist, auch wenn sie mal einen schlechten Tag hat, ist sie immer wieder gut drauf und sie ist nett zu mir. Ja, und sie kann halt auch gute Scherze machen.
Ich habe erst ein Jahr lang bei einem anderen Lehrer gespielt und dann jetzt 3 Jahre bei Nancy.
When I think about the children that I teach, it's even hard to decide which child to talk about. Every child is very special, and I have with almost every child a very unique relationship. There's so much in each of these relationships. It's hard to say what is the most interesting. It's all very interesting, and I learn a lot through teaching. And I could never believe that this is true, but one very old accordion teacher who I admire very much, his name is Eugen, he said once that whenever he is teaching, he gets something to take home with him from the children. And I kind of feel the same. It makes me incredibly happy to be around the children and to see how they improve and how they learn and how hard they work. I can tell from the kids that I'm teaching, they are very open to everything, and they don't really hear that this music sounds not beautiful and older music sounds more beautiful. They don't have all these years of experience of hearing tonal music, so they're very open to other kinds of music, and to them it sounds just the same, kind of beautiful, and they learn to understand this music very easily.
Ich mache meistens moderne Musik. Das ist meistens einfacher. Aber nicht nur deshalb, weil ich finde, moderne Musik ist einfach viel schöner, weil, wie soll man sagen, es ist anders als alte Musik. Alte Musik ist so schwer zu komponieren oder zu improvisieren. Das ist total schwer für mich.
When the children perform new music, contemporary music, they don't make a difference between old and new music, but the parents do. And then it has happened to me that the parents came after the concert and asked me, well, how do you do that the children play as though they like this music? And I said to the parents, well, I think they do like the music. And it's sometimes very hard for the parents to understand this. And I really must say that most of the parents whose children I am teaching are open enough and accepting enough to allow their kids to experiment with this music and to not tell them what they should think about it. I really think that the new generation can kind of grow into a new kind of music, especially when they play the accordion. I think it's very important to stay close to our very own music, just written for our instrument.
Ich mag, glaube ich, eher ein bisschen klassische Musik mehr als neue. Neue gefällt mir auch.
Also ich spiele eigentlich lieber Barock oder Klassik oder so. Und moderne Stücke mag ich jetzt eigentlich nicht so. Aber Nancy meint auch, dass man die erstmal viel spielen muss, um die zu mögen.
Being an accordionist I think, is different from being any other kind of classical musicians. Most of the time, especially in this country, people don't know anything about it. And of course, they do not expect that I'm actually able to play classical music on the accordion.
Also das Akkordeon kennen ja nicht viele. Aber es klingt halt so gleich ganz voll, so wie ein kleines Orchester gleich. Und halt man kann ziemlich schnell so Stücke lernen. Bei einer Geige oder so muss man ja erst ziemlich lang spielen, um was Schönes zu spielen, also um schöne Stücke zu können. Beim Akkordeon geht das halt ziemlich schnell.
A piano player has made a very funny comparison about how it is to play the accordion, and she said it is like a piano player who is blindfolded and who has a weight of 30 pounds on his left arm and whose piano is moving all the time. In the time when I studied music until now, I've had a couple of very interesting experiences with music. Sometimes when I listen to music, I sort of understand the language that this music speaks. It's nothing that you can express with words. It's just a complete understanding, and this moment has such a deep effect on me that I'm just totally stunned, and most of the time when this happens, I just cannot stop crying because it's just such an incredible experience. And I've had this experience with 3 composers, and this is Bach, Schubert and Mahler. Unfortunately, I cannot play music of Schubert and Mahler on the accordion. It doesn't just sound right. So Bach is the only of these composers who I can play on the accordion. And so I love to play Bach. The other reason, I think, is, of course, Bach is one of the most played composers. If you have an education, serious education for music, you just don't get around him, no matter what instrument you play. So there's a lot of music you hear and you play from Bach all the time. And I have the experiences, the more I hear some pieces and some composers, the more I start liking them. And so I just became very near to Bach's music. From the time when I was a child, music was so important to me. I was singing all the time. As soon as I was in a music school, the same thing happened. It was just so important to me to always make music, and I had such fun doing that. I don't know how good my music making was, but I think people could really tell that I had fun doing that and that I loved to do that. And this has never changed my whole life. I just cannot imagine living without music. I can live without many things, I think. I can reduce my food, I can live with almost no money. I can be for a long time just by myself. I don't need company. There are only a few people who I don't want to miss in my life. But I could never, ever live without music. If I would imagine not being able to sing or to hear music, to listen to certain pieces from my favorite composers, I don't know what my life would be. I don't think it would be worth living. These are big words, I know. But I'm certain about it. So for me, the decision to be a musician, when I made this decision, I was not bad at school. I could become everything I wanted. And my parents didn't like the idea of my becoming a musician and not making a good living. And then as an accordionist, it's even more difficult because you cannot go in an orchestra and you really have to figure out how to make some money. But I don't care. I know I have done the right thing, and that's what I really want to do.